Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
What is happening, man? Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday. That's right. So it's 9 a.m. We're live right here at Syndicate headquarters like we always do it here in Austin, Texas for Tuesday Training. We got a good show for today, man. We're going to bring Eugene Marchenko on the show here in a little bit, and we're going to talk sales skills, right? I got quite a few questions for him. Drop your questions in the comments. I don't care if it's an objection that you're struggling with, if it's questions about telesales mastery, field sales mastery, cross-marketing, bundling, whatever it is, put them in the comments because we're going to get Marchenko up here in a little bit, and we're going to talk to him because that dude is absolutely one of the best phone sales people I've ever met. He's definitely in the top probably 5 that I can think of in the Medicare space. But truthfully, telesales skills serves all industries. So hopefully, whether you're selling auto or trucking or life insurance, some of the stuff that him and I discuss, either way will be advantageous for it. But first and foremost, I got one little piece of news that I want to talk to you guys about real quick. Let me give me just a second to grab this on my screen. It's nothing major, but as you may have heard, Medicare came back with the first round of drug negotiations. And technically, I got to give them some credit. They actually did pretty good on some of these drug negotiations, getting some of the costs down. Eliquis being one of them, for example. I don't know if you guys saw some of that, but basically they had the first round of negotiated prices. 10 drugs were unveiled by the White House, as it says here. And they did a pretty good job getting some drug cost. So here's what the article says here. It says, hey, negotiations worked mostly. Drug makers have said the process was not a legitimate negotiation, but all of them agreed to participate, and none pulled their drugs from the Medicare program. The negotiations were comprehensive. They were intense. It took both sides to reach a good deal. They're from Xavier Becerra from Health and Human Services. And they ultimately said federal officials held 3 meetings with each participating drug company to discuss the offers and counteroffers, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you cruise down here and look a little bit, it'll start talking about some of the offers. I want to see where the list of drugs are. I don't know if you guys saw these drugs and the price point. I swore there was a link in this article, and now I'm not finding it. Give me just a minute. But there were 10 total drugs. If it's not in this article, I'll make sure I get it kicked over to you in the group because, yeah, it's not in this article. So I had that somewhere else. But they released the price points that they're able to negotiate. They're pretty damn good. To be honest with you, as upset as I am about some of the details of the Inflation Reduction Act, the drug negotiations seem to be going pretty well. Eliquis was one of them that they cut, I want to say, in more than half on the price. So bear with me. I will find those drugs and I'll get those in the group so that you guys can see those. I thought they were in that article, but I have them in a different link. But nonetheless, our guest has arrived. We are ready to talk to him, and I can't wait. So like I said, get some of your questions going in the chat, man. If you have any questions on something that you might be struggling with when it comes to your sales vernacular, your sales timing, cadence, whatever it may be, get them in the chat because we're going to talk about them. And right here, we've got the one, the only, Eugene Marchenko. And if you really know Eugene, you know that his name is Yevgeny. And I love him to death, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing great, dude. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Last time I saw you, you were in the passenger seat of a Camry doing about 130 across the Nevada desert.
I didn't know Camrys can go that fast.
Neither did I. Neither did I. And we still had room in the throttle.
That's right.
But man, take a quick moment. I'm sure most of the people in our group know who you are because your reputation definitely precedes you. But just take a moment, introduce yourself, let them know who you are and what you're about.
Sure. So my name is Eugene Marchenko. I've been an insurance agent since 2010, so that's going on a million years now. And
14.
yeah, and I've started this business before I could grow a beard, and I started with a script that somebody had dictated to me, and I memorized word for word. And I remember my first presentation, not knowing the difference between deductible and coinsurance, but I didn't care because I believed in the script and it worked. And since then, there have been challenges in starting my own business and growing my agency. And all those challenges I was able to solve and then just create businesses around it. So now I own 4 different businesses tailored to first servicing my insurance agency, but also helping other insurance agents with their agencies as well. I am a father of 4 kids. I travel a lot. I like fishing. I like hunting. I like everything outdoors. And I like Tony and going 130 miles an hour with him.
Excellent. Have you always been in the telesales side of the game?
No, I started face to face. So the first 5 years of my career, when I was just getting my feet wet, I was a captive agent, and it was all face to face. I did the western part of North Carolina, all of South Carolina, and northern Georgia was my territory. And so my manager would hand me a batch of what I thought were new leads, but they were like 4 or 5 years old. And I went and I scheduled appointments. And sometimes if I couldn't reach the people, I'd just show up at their door, sometimes 5, 6 hours away. And I would just have conversations with them about their health insurance. It was mostly all under 65 before the Obamacare stuff started happening. And then once ACA really started rolling around, there was too much uncertainty, so I pivoted over to Medicare and final expense, and now I'm just strictly Medicare.
Was that probably around 2014, 2015, somewhere right in there?
Yep. So 2015 was so in 2013, after 3 years, they actually promoted me to a manager position, and they moved me to Charleston, South Carolina, to open office down here. And I did that for about 2 years as a manager role. Recruited some agents and really started an office. But then 2015, I really just got tired of the politics, more so than anything to do with everything that was going on with ACA. And I decided that I'm better off working for myself and building my own agency from scratch. So I went from making 6 figures down to making almost nothing that first year. Almost went into foreclosure, had to default on some credit cards, but nonetheless, the point is, started over in 2015 as a telesales independent agent instead of being captive.
What made you change to telesales?
The
Considering
driving.
You weren't doing it before.
Yeah, the driving had a lot to do with it. So I hurt my back really, really bad in the gym where I had to be carried out, and I couldn't even walk. I mean, I couldn't walk for about 3 weeks, and but I still had to eat, and I still had to run appointments, and I still had to go get in my car. And the hardest part wasn't standing up; it was folding myself to get into my little BMW that I had at the time. And I said, you know what, there has to be a better way. And somebody had introduced me to telesales, and they kind of helped me get my my start, if you will, in telesales. And it was a lot better for me than having to drive face to face. Now I'm in 32 different states, a multilingual agency, and you know, come a long way for sure.
Absolutely. What do you, if you had, I mean, I know the answer, and I don't know why I'm bothered asking it, but if you were a new agent today that wanted to get in this game at an independent level, would you choose field sales or telesales?
I would definitely choose telesales.
Why?
I like having the flexibility that I have right now. So this year, I went to Europe for 3 weeks. I was in Miami with a BBI. I was in Alaska for a week. There's several other trips that I don't even remember that I've been on this year. So I've been traveling quite a bit. And the best part is, if I have my laptop, I don't have it, it's actually plugged in there, but you know, I can take my laptop, and as long as I can have an internet connection, and sometimes it's just with my phone, I'm able to have a conversation with people. My office phone app is on here, so I can use this as my office phone. My laptop has all my Google credentials. So as long as I'm logged into Google, I have all my carrier websites. I have Sunfire. I have everything that I need to actually have a conversation and make a sale. So I'm able to go to Europe for 3 weeks weeks and spend 2-3 days in the mornings before my wife gets going and actually have a conversation with somebody and have a sale. I was in Alaska. Anytime we'd have an internet connection, I'd get on the phone, I'd make some phone calls, and I'd be talking to people. Same with my agents, right? So I'll get on the phone with them and show them and train them, because I brought on 2 new people for AEP, and I can train them from anywhere in the world. And
Right.
I'm trying to train them to have the same lifestyle that I'm trying to live, which is have the freedom. I want to be on my boat, and I want to have a Starlink 100 miles offshore, and I want to be able to have a legitimate conversation while I'm catching fish. That's my ultimate goal.
Hang on a second. I'm going to have to put you on hold, Margaret. I got a big one.
That's right. No pun intended.
We'll get back to your Medicare in a second. You fish in 2 different ways like that. I love it. Awesome. Well, this is a question that pops up from time to time. And again, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but people don't always like to hear it from one source. They want to hear it from another one.
Sure.
If you're a field agent, can you just start doing telesales occasionally? Or if, more importantly, and I think this is where it really breaks down, if you say, hey, I'm a telesales agent, and you build your day-to-day habits around telesales, and then a client says, hey, come drive over to my house and run your appointment. Is that a viable strategy?
It was for me when I first started, because that's how I first started. In 2015, like I said, when I was starting over, I tried the whole telesales thing, and for 3 weeks straight, I could not make a sale. And a sales agent, when they don't make a sale for 3 weeks and they're trying, their confidence is very, very low, and you start second guessing. You get in your own brain that you're doing something wrong. And so when I first started, I had a couple people that were actually only like 40 minutes away from me that said, can you come out and see me? And I folded, and I did, because I needed to get my confidence back up, which I sold it, right away. But after that, that was one day. Once I did that, here now going, what is it? 6 years later. What is it now? 6 years,
Yeah,
7 years
7
later.
years.
7 years later, if somebody says that to me, it's a hard no. And there's ways to sell it in a softer way than saying, no, I'm not going to come out and see you, right?
Of course.
But in the beginning, I did that one day after 3 weeks of no sales. I went out, and it turns out I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just had no pipeline.
Right.
That's really all it was. It took me 3 weeks to build a pipeline, but I was so down in the dumps that I needed to go make a sale. Plus, I was broke,
Right.
and I needed some money. And I remember I'm driving to their house, and I don't know how to submit a Mutual of Omaha application, because I know that that's the best rate. And I'm in their driveway watching a video tutorial on how to submit a YouTube application before I walk in there and actually sell it. So I had my license. I didn't know how to submit it. I knew how to sell, and I had a lead, and I had somebody who's willing to do business. And so a lot of people get stuck in I got to have all my ducks in a row, and I got to prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare to prepare. And they're never actually doing the most important part, because they think that they're on that treadmill and they feel like they're going somewhere, but they're just spinning their wheels. And so, for me, and this is what I tell my agents, well, how can I make a phone call if I don't know, the donut hole, and what if somebody asks me that question? Who cares? Get somebody on the phone to ask you that question first.
Right.
Right. And so I still remember I'm sitting in his driveway watching how to submit that Mutual of Omaha application before I walk in there. Same when I first started as a captive agent. I didn't know the difference between deductible coinsurance. I had that script. I remember having, and this is face-to-face appointment, I remember having the script in my notepad in case I forgot where I left off. And I still remember flipping through the pages, pretending like I'm taking a note, but I'm looking where I need to pick up on the script before I knew everything, right?
Sure.
And so I only knew one thing, and is having conversations equaled to making money. Everything else I was going to figure out on my own time.
Yeah. And look at you now.
Look at me now.
You seem to have figured some stuff out.
A little bit.
A little bit.
You know what? The interesting part is there's a lot of stuff that I'm still like learning, because I'm now tapping into a whole new market that is completely new to me. And there's a lot of stuff that I have no idea. And Oh yeah, Miss Smith, that's a great question. I think I know the answer, but if you give me 2 minutes, let me give you a call right back. Let me confirm that answer for you, right? Which
Yeah,
works all the time.
yeah, all the time. Your, in my opinion, your clients, your prospects, they want to know,
Hmm.
not that you're a genius and you have all the answers memorized, but they want to know that you have the resources
Hmm.
to solve the problems. That's why
Yeah,
they're calling you. They're looking for the certainty. Man, let me call this guy that's resourceful. He has all the answers, or he gets all the answers. He has the knowledge. I just got to talk to him, and
that's right.
he'll help me figure it out.
That's right.
100%. Scripting. You said you got started on a script. They handed you a script here, set, and that was, I assume, an appointment script because you were
Yes.
doing face to face when you first got started.
Yeah.
And then now I assume your scripts have evolved. You've probably written all kinds of scripts for the different things that you're doing, the VAs that you have, et cetera. How
Mhm.
important is it to have a script if you're, especially in the telesales space?
100% super, super important. And I think what's even more important than a script, which I think script is second important to a process. So if you can have an outline process of a conversation, so we do a introduction, fact finding, asking open-ended questions, presenting the product, doing the close, right? How to close the sale, then doing the application, doing the warm down. If you can have the process of the sale first, then you can just kind of fill in the blanks with your own lingo, which of course I still provide the lingo.
Sure.
But the process of the sale, if you can get the process of the sale down from the very first words that you say to the goodbye, and you hang up the phone, you can pretty much sell anything at that point.
Yeah. I would tend to agree. Once you master, I call it, say that there's 5 steps to every conversation, every sale, and you basically hit them too. There's introduction, there's your fact finding or short story, there's your actual presentation, there's your close, and then there's your rehash, which is like a secondary close or follow up close.
Yeah.
If you can memorize those steps, and again, some of the basics at the top and the bottom, exactly what you said, then all the middle stuff
Hmm.
is going to play off of your resources, your knowledge, your ability to have a conversation with someone, listen and answer questions and so forth to move them through. I believe that process for a long time. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm also a big fan of, because I'm not a huge script guy. Like I'm very heavy on scripting the introduction, right? To get through know, like, and trust, get them on the phone, and then get into that area where their questions and your knowledge and resources are what's going to banter to help get you towards the close or towards closing, and definitely creating a hard close. What are some of in your experience, what are your most common objections that you maybe struggled with and then eventually learned that are, oh, this objection's a joke?
So the biggest one is when you're asking, especially when you're doing like a Medicare supplement, and you need to ask the for their Social Security number or their Medicare number, where these clients have been told over and over and over
Don't
that
give that stuff out,
don't give this information
especially
out,
over the phone.
especially over the phone with somebody that's never seen you've never
Some
seen them before.
Ukrainian guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right, with a funny accent. And and so then that's the first one. That's actually the biggest one. But then also, why should somebody do business with me versus the 50 other people that have called them or visited them in person or had a face-to-face and already had a presentation and a pitch, and they've probably already made a decision, right? So
Yeah.
I would say the latter being not as hard as the former with the Social Security stuff, but both I think were equally as challenging. And I'm sure your next question is how do you overcome that stuff?
Sure. Like,
Yeah.
I know how I do it. I'm just very direct. I just say it and
Okay.
leave
Yeah.
dead
So
air
yeah.
and let
So
it be awkward for a second.
for me, I think the warm up will help kind of set the tone for the rest of the conversation, and then your education and how much knowledge you have and that you're the expert on this subject matter also plays an important role. So before you can ask for the routing number and account number, have you really done your first steps in the process of the sale to build the confidence in you, right? So that's the first part. The second part, like you said, is be direct, right? So don't come in there with half confidence or no confidence, or you're speaking like this and Miss Smith, what's your Social Security number? Like don't whisper it in their ear, right? So
That sounds creepy and shady as hell.
right,
What's
exactly,
your
right.
social?
Yeah, but I also don't like to ask for the social security number directly. So for new agents, the thing that's really helped me is when I do the presentation and it comes time to okay, now how does your name appear on your social security card? I want to make sure I get that legal spelling down correctly. So they're thinking their mind is focused on, oh yeah, that's right. I got to make sure I get it right. So it's John Smith, right? So even if it's something as simple as John Smith, I say, now, how does your name appear on your social security card? John Smith. Now, do you have a middle initial in there? Oh, you know what? Yeah, it does have my middle initial in there. I'm like, okay, now what's that number? So I never say, what is your social security number? I
Correct.
never say, what is your Medicare number? So then my next thing is, now, does your social security card match the name on your Medicare card? Which prompts them to go get their Medicare card. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, it does match. Okay, well, what's that number? So I don't actually ask, what is your social security number? What is your Medicare number? Because those are scary
Those are
questions.
triggers, right?
Triggers.
They hear that and that triggers them. Like, oh, I was told not to give that out.
So what I do is I say, look at your card. Tell me how your name appears. Oh, and
It
what's that
sits right in
number?
front of them. That's
Yeah.
pretty genius, dude. I like that.
And it works a lot with, especially with insurance agents now, with how much confidence I have in the marketing that I'm
Sure.
doing. I don't really care, if I spook them, because I'm not going to spook them because of the level of confidence that I
Yeah.
built prior to even having the conversation. But for a new insurance agent, that right there, especially when you have low confidence and you're just getting started, really does help take the pressure off asking the specific question of, what's your social security number?
Absolutely. That's outstanding. What are some of the ways that maybe, like, especially when you're young, or if you're training a new agent, right? How do you help him build his confidence when he has none? And how do you help them establish know, like, and trust in the early parts of the call, so that those latter parts, when asking for banking info, social, Medicare numbers, et cetera, can be more intrusive? But because they've established confidence, trust, and so forth, they can breeze right through that. What are some of the things that you help someone establish that kind of trust?
So I want their confidence to be in me when they're new, not in themselves, and knowing that I'm right next to them, and that my brain is their brain. And so it's very simple for them to put the conversation on mute and yell at me what's the question, or what's the hiccup, or right. So I want them to know that I'm going to be right there the whole time. So their confidence should be in me, the training manager, not in themselves, because my confidence, and really you as a training manager, your confidence should spill over into what they're doing as well. And then the second thing is confidence in the script. I always tell the story about how I started with having this script when I was new, before I knew the deductibles and co-insurances and all those fancy words. And so confidence in the script, I think it's very, very important. So as long as you stick to the script and you follow that sales process, and then you follow the words that I've taught you, just like Jordan Belfort,
Yeah.
follow the words that I will teach you and I will make you rich, right? So it's kind of the same thing, where have confidence in the script, and then know that you can put yourself on mute super fast and easy and yell at me whatever questions that you have.
Yeah. When you come into a roadblock or something.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
also know how to handle those roadblocks. So if somebody asks you a question and they stump you with a question, that's actually a really good question. I think I know the answer, but let me put you on a brief hold and let me get that answer for you, and it will clarify, right? And
Yeah.
so being confident in like you said earlier, being the resource and knowing where to get the answer, I think plays a vital role in especially when you're brand new.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the resources, right, you know where to go get the information, you can be super confident. And that's
Mhm.
one of the things I've always told agents in the Medicare space, especially because the learning curve is so ridiculously huge. It's enormous, right? I mean, think about it. I don't know how big that guide is, the Medicare and You guide. It's like, what, 270 pages or something ridiculous that they send out to seniors. Here, read that. Good luck making smart healthcare choices.
Mhm.
Nobody's going to read that shit. But so I tell agents, I'm like, number one, don't try to memorize that guide. Don't try to memorize everything that there is to do in Medicare, because number one, you have that guide, which is, if you look at the Medicare and You guide, it's extremely well appendixed.
Mhm.
So if any question that I've ever been asked in Medicare, for the most part, I'd say 99 times out of 100, if I don't know the answer, I know how to get it in that guide super fast. Because just
So
go to the appendix, look it up, find the page, and boom, there's my answer.
Here is okay. I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's actually part of my training as well. So I have everybody read the Medicare and You handbook,
Sure.
not for the knowledge factor of it, but I want them to experience what the customer experiences when they get it in
Yeah.
their hands, right? Especially we're insurance agents and we don't understand half the stuff that's in there, right? Like who knows, what the day 60 through 90, with part A, all this mumbo jumbo, like I don't remember half the stuff, right? Okay. But when you're making a sale, especially when you're new, if you give somebody too many options, if you say, well, here's plan N with 3 different companies, here's plan G with 3 different companies, let's talk about A, B, C, and D and all this stuff, right? If you give them too many options, you're going to lose them. And so the best part about the Medicare and You guidebook, this year's Medicare and You guidebook on page 10, where it says your Medicare options, if you look at that page, and this is actually my presentation, if you look at that page is split down the middle. You got your left side and you got your right side. What that means is, Miss Smith, you have only 2 choices to make. Are you going to be on the left side of the paper or on the right side of the paper? Let me explain what that means. On the left side of the paper, you have original Medicare. On the right-hand side, you have a Medicare plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, which is an alternative to Medicare, but also a plan that you can choose your Medicare benefits through. So basically, do you want to go left or do you want to go right? And if once they make, well, based on everything that you said, I think I'd prefer to stay with original Medicare. Based on everything that you said, I prefer to go with the Medicare Advantage plan. Right there, I always like to say, well, congratulations, you've just made the hardest decision when it comes to being new to Medicare. Everything else is just a matter of filling in the blanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to cover that co-insurance, who's going to do your PDP, et cetera, et cetera. So I always give a 2-option close, which is, do you want to go with original Medicare or you want to go with Medicare Advantage? Once they made that decision, let's just pick the best one in that category and we're done with it. And the
Excellent.
Medicare and You guidebook makes it really easy, right? Your
Yeah,
Medicare
yeah.
options, it gives us only 2 options, left side or right side.
So if you're talking to someone now, do y'all conduct your telesales environment through Zoom or any kind of screen sharing? So how are you just telling them, hey, do you have a copy of your Medicare and You guide? Go get it. Turn to page
I
10.
don't ask that. I say, go ahead and get your Medicare and Your guidebook. Yeah, I
Okay.
always, I always like to say, go get it. Now, if they say they don't have it, just say, go ahead and pull up your tablet. Let me show you where to get it.
Okay, cool.
And so and it's really Medicare and You 2024 PDF, and it's the first option, right? And
Okay.
so they're looking at what they're looking now. If they're computer illiterate, and if they are, and if they don't have the book, I say, go ahead and get a pen and paper. Let's go ahead and draw what the Medicare and You guidebook on page 10 says. And then I actually make them do the T chart and
Yeah.
they're writing everything. So on the left hand side, go ahead and write original Medicare. And the right hand side, go ahead, write Medicare Advantage. Let's talk about left side. Let's talk about right side. So if they don't have one of the 2 options, either the book or a tablet, then I have them write it out because I
Yeah.
need them to have a visual aid. I need them to see it.
Absolutely. We do that in our seminars. So we have the T-chart worksheet. I mean, it's super sophisticated, has our logo at the top, and it's just a line across and a line down the middle.
Yeah.
And then the left side, and I tell them, like, we're going through them, like, all right, so on that left side of that worksheet that we gave you, at the top, write original Medicare. And then as we go through that part of the presentation, we point out the things they want to write down. Part A is free, Part B is not free, co-insurance, like some of those pieces. And then when we get to the Medicare Advantage side, same thing. And then by the time that seminar is over and they get to the end of that worksheet, they pretty much know which side of the chart they fall on.
Yeah.
And then that makes everything, because then by the way they schedule the appointment with us, they're like, hey, really enjoyed the seminar. Show me your Medicare Advantage plans. That's where I'm at. Like, I like that. I don't really travel. I'm looking more for a premium cost savings network driven plan. Or the other person's like, man, I travel all the time. I need MedSup coverage. I like the freedom of choice, So it works great. How important, and I thought you were going to say something, but since you're not, good, because I'm going to light in my second question. And this is based on everything that you just said. I tell them to go get their Medicare guide.
Yeah.
I tell them to get their tablet and let me show you where to get it. And if I can't get that, I tell them to grab a piece of paper and draw your T-chart. How important is taking control and telling your prospect what to do instead of asking them to do favors for you nicely all the time.
When you ask, it gives them the option to say no. And I'm trying to take no out of the equation. So even in the beginning of my presentation, if I have to ask a yes or no question, I ask it in a way that the answer is always going to be yes.
Sure.
So Ms. Smith, to confirm, your address is blah, blah, blah. Yes, right. And so you get them in the yes saying mode, because the very first word that we as human beings learn, or one of the first ones,
No.
the actual meaning of it is no,
Come here,
right?
baby. Come here, little
Yeah.
baby. No.
You know, how many times do
Absolutely.
you go to a grocery store and you know what you need, you don't know where it is, and when somebody approaches you, asks you for help, you say, "No, I got it," when you could have been out of there 5 minutes earlier if you had just, accepted their help, right?
No, I can wander around the grocery store and read the signs. I'll find it eventually. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's our
But yeah, so
egos getting in the way.
taking control is very, very, very important. That if you have control of the conversation, go ahead and get a pen and paper, Miss Smith. Go ahead and write this down. Go ahead and get your Medicare card. Go ahead and get your checkbook, whatever. Right? Go ahead and do this. I remember even as face to face, belly to belly, if you will, when I would sit down with people, if they were not offering me a glass of water or a glass of sweet tea or whatever, I would say, can you get me a water? Right. And the reason why I do that is I want them to get up. I want to feel comfortable. Right. So I think that has to do with setting the tone and just being comfortable with this person. Man, I'll tell you right now, I'm the type of person that if I walk into your house and I've never been in your house, the first thing I'm doing is going to your refrigerator and getting a water or a soda or something out. I say, do you mind if I get a drink? And I go and I get it. I just feel like it sets a different kind of tone with a relationship, especially if the relationship is important to you.
That's definitely a display of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge display of confidence. If you walk into someone's house and just open their refrigerator on your own, like there's a lot of people I can tell you definitely in the South probably throw you the hell out of the house for doing that. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Walk into my house. What, do you want some of my food too?
Well,
But if you, I know you're doing. Hang on, I know you're doing it in a professional way. But the fact that you're doing that, like you're putting your thing down, like you're establishing a little bit of dominance. I'm the expert in the room now, and I'm going to control the situation, the conversation, and help you because you called me for help. Let's be honest, Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and what I would do, like I still remember, like I'd walk to the refrigerator and I put their hand on my hand on the refrigerator door, and I'm kind of looking around. I'm not gonna open it, but I'm like looking around. I'm like, where's your water thing? And they're like, oh, there's a water in the fridge, and then you open the fridge and you get the water, right? So it's like a psychological thing.
Excellent. What do you think is probably the number one skill for someone in sales and telesales specifically? A new guy, like the first, other than just having a script, like I'm talking their whether it's tonality or language or confidence or anything, like what do you think is probably the biggest thing that an agent can rely on?
If you're doing telesales only, it's your tone, the way you say stuff, whether or not you say a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you're are you sitting up straight, or are you slouched? Are you smiling when you're talking? Because all that stuff really really comes across. Even though they don't see you, they can hear the energy through what you're saying, or how you're saying it. But also your your pauses, your theatrical effect, if you will, right? So because it's just one big presentation, the everything has to be scripted, even your pauses, right? Having the confidence to have complete silence and not being the first one to speak when you ask a question, whether it's a 10-second pause or whether it's a 2-minute pause, it just leave it, right? So having just that control over your demeanor, if you will, I think is very, very important.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Tonality is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Falbo asked if you're doing it through Zoom, which we had already asked a little bit ago. He is not doing them through Zoom, which leads me to a question: why not?
I don't like dressing up. I'm in a t-shirt and shorts right now. I don't want to see them. I don't want them to see me. It's just an extra step especially when you first have Zoom, they ask you to download it and they ask you to go to your permissions and give permission access to the microphone. And that's just so okay. So what if they don't know how to do that? Does the conversation stop?
Right.
No, the conversation is going to continue. So if the kind of conversation is going to continue anyways, then what was the point of all that in the first place?
Right. I of the same thought process. I feel like it just adds another layer of friction on the sales process, on the conversation. And as a marketer and as a salesperson, like I understand that I want as little friction on the phone call sales process as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially in a telesale, like face to face, you can have more friction on there because it's much more organic and they have that ability to stare you in the face and watch you sweat or whatever it is. Whereas telesales, there's that little bit of anonymity kind of, or that little bit of, I guess, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, but it's anonymity, right? There's that space between us that we can't see. So I feel like it's much more important to keep it as frictionless as possible.
Yep.
So when Grace launched her business and she was asking me like, how are we going to, when she told me, because I took her in the field and then I trained her on the phone. I trained her in the field and I trained her on the phone and I said, you pick one. This is your business. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Pick what you want to do. Just like
Two
a
option
customer,
close.
right? Two option close. And she's like, I go, do you want to go out there where you meet people that are so excited of the great work you did for them, they urinate in their pants? Or do you want to stay behind your desk in your home office? She's like, I want to stay behind my desk in my home office. I'm like, perfect. Then we'll do that. And I think one of the first questions she asked me was like, are we going to use Zoom? I was like, no, there's no need for Zoom. It's a waste of time. It's just friction. And then gave her the script and I'm like, go. And one of my favorite things that I give a lot of props to my wife on when she first started is her ability to be coachable. Like she was super coachable right up front. She didn't know any different. She had never really sold anything other than Mary Kay before. And now she's getting to Medicare. So from Mary Kay to Medicare. But she was just like, okay, pick up the phone, say this, repeat the process, make money.
Yep.
And she did it. And then now she's built a pretty magnificent business.
Awesome.
So Kim Kim must know exactly where I'm going in my brain with this conversation, because this is exactly where I'm rolling. Cross-selling by phone. When you do it, are you doing it in the initial call? Are you bundling it in the first call? Are you doing it post first sale? What do you recommend? What do you find problematic?
So it depends on what the product is and what it is I'm trying to sell them, and also what the need of the customer is, right? So if I know through the conversation that cancer runs in the family, that's a natural segue into a cancer pitch, right? And I usually do a cancer pitch whenever we do the PDP presentation with the donut holes and the gaps in coverage there, especially with how cancer medications are so expensive. If I'm doing a Medicare Advantage plan, I explain to them about the $300, $400, $500 per day for the first 4 or 5 days. And I'm going to be presenting that HIT plan as a secondary coverage to their original coverage, which is whatever their Medicare Advantage plan is. If I'm doing a Medicare supplement, and when I'm done with the Medicare supplement, I say, oh, by the way, did you want to include dental benefits with this? Oh, yeah. How much is it? Oh, it's an extra $52 a month. Okay, yeah, go ahead and do it. So kind of like, do you want fries with that? So it depends on what the product is, where the conversation was going, but it's always during the original conversation. On the follow-up, so 2-3 weeks later, after the policy's been issued, I have one of my VAs, call them and thank them for the business, make sure they got their cards and their policies and everything in the mail. And they look at the notes and say, now, Eugene had mentioned something about dental with you. What was your final decision on that? So I'll have the VA go through and re-ask that question that I've already asked. And if they say, you know what, I want some more information on that, then they will set the appointment for me, and they will, and then of course I will try to cross-sell it.
Sure.
Talk to them again, but very rarely do I do it on the second call. It's like 95% on the first call.
Yeah, it's not impossible to do it on the secondary call, but it's harder, right? Because now I've got to get interest again. I've already made a transaction with them.
Yeah. And
I can see how the customer's mind might be, well, why didn't we just do this the first time? Like, why didn't you help me with this the first time? Why are you trying to sell me some more shit now? I feel like it's a friction thing. So I always feel like it's you have them on the phone already. The best time to pitch them is when you have them on the phone.
Right.
So take advantage of that and explain the different products or opportunities that you can fit in. And I
Okay.
like the way you said it, like with the HIP plan, like when you're going through your summary of benefits, there's all of your options to come back.
Mhm.
There's the 3, 5, 7 days, whatever it is that their hospital copayment is, right? There's their outpatient surgery piece. There's the ambulance cost. And then obviously there's your 20% for radio and chemo. Like those are pretty much standard in every summary of benefits for a Medicare Advantage plan. And that purposely tees up a nice hospital indemnity that could even include skilled nursing rider, a cancer rider on top of it. You can really stack it up to kind of fit all of those.
Well, actually, so the other thing is, so when you uncover the problems, whether it's you're talking about the PDP, we're talking about the Medicare Advantage, whatever, right? Not having dental with the Medicare supplement, original Medicare. So whatever problem you uncover, right? Because they're like, what is this, right? I try to make myself as less of a salesman as possible, where it's they're making the decision. I'm not the one making the decision for them, right? Even though I'm the one steering the conversation where I want it to go, they're ultimately the ones who are going to make the decision because it's their coverage, it's their life, and they know themselves better than I know them. But also, to sound less of a salesman, whenever you do talk about the different options or the gaps in coverage, you got $250 a day for the first 5 days with this company, et cetera, et cetera. Say the good news is there's an option. What most people do is blah, blah, blah. And the word there is herd mentality. So if you can say, what most people do here is they get out a secondary policy to help cover the blah, 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 right? So you got this gap in coverage and the chemotherapy is so expensive and all the anti-nausea medications that they'll be covering you that are tier 4 and 5 and 6, and you'd be hitting the donut hole. Good news, there's options. What most people do is blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And then just fill in the blank of what that blah, blah, blah is.
That's one of my favorite expressions. I always say most of my clients, what most of my clients do is this, or this is why most of my clients do this, right? So herd mentality, it's one of the 4 factors of impulse, which is greed. And it's greed in the sense of keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, right? If you move into a new neighborhood and some dude buys a Tesla, it doesn't take long before several other people in the neighborhood now have a Tesla because they see, well, Steve got a Tesla. Well, honey, don't you want it? Right. And then it's keeping up with the Joneses. So same concept works there. I learned that a long time ago in sales, that the Jones effect works really good for people. Right. They want what their neighbor has. And if my neighbor has better healthcare coverage than me because he listened to Eugene and does this, then, well, I want some of that too. If that's what most people are doing, I don't want to be the oddball that doesn't have my ducks in a row.
Yeah. But also listening to the conversation, right? So if they have no teeth and you're offering them a dental policy, I mean, that's a very hard sale.
You might need to be a little more observant.
Although I have one like that.
Yeah. Now, how do you discover that if you're doing a telesale?
You say that, right? So you do the presentation and, oh, by the way, did you want to include some dental benefits with this? And, oh, I don't have any teeth. And so, well, do you wear dentures, right? So I was still able to close it. But the point is, you discover that just by asking the question, right? But in the beginning, right? So when you do the fact finding, you ask, what benefits did you have? With your group coverage, right? Did you have dental? Did you have an Aflac policy that helped? Right. So you're uncovering. They're going to tell you what you should offer them when you do the actual close, just through the fact finding. Oh, I had a health policy. I had an Aflac policy. I had a life policy. I had a 401k. So, all right. So I'm writing down everything that they had, and those are the needs that they're losing, right? So those are the benefits that they're losing. So I always actually like to ask the question, during the fact finding, what benefits are you losing when you retire?
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you what their needs are.
That is 100% true. And when I was selling in the field, this is a long time ago, before MA or Medicare Advantage was the beast that it is today. It was all just meds up and final expense. There really were no drug plans, and there certainly weren't any good dental plans. But 100% true, man. You have to understand, especially if you're writing someone that is just now leaving their group, which a lot of us are if you're focused on the T65 space, but that is absolutely true. They're not just losing some health insurance. They're losing more. You need to find out what it is. Is it life insurance? Is it the Aflac accident critical policy? Is it their 401k that they need to move into an annuity or somewhere else? Like all of those are options. Whether you're selling all those products or not is one thing. And if you're not selling annuities, then go find you an annuity guy and get that discovery and tighten up that piece for your client, because that's you being a better resource for them, which is going to also help you retain your own business that you wrote with them.
That's
right. We're coming up here on
one product, you're a salesman. 2 products, you're an advisor.
Correct. 3 products, you're a superstar. You'll have phenomenal retention.
That's right.
I want to obviously be respectful of your time and everybody else's. We are coming up on the hour, but I want to get your take on something. And this is something I've been thinking about recently with the new changes because of the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm thinking of it in the Medicare Advantage world, because there's been a period of time where I kind of felt like, to a large extent, when it came to comparing Medicare Advantage plans, I felt like that I was just becoming a prescription drug advisor on how that I can find the plan that still accepts your doctors, but ultimately just gives you the best deal on your drugs, because it seems like that's what a lot of the people are only concerned about. So here's my thought. If next year you have a client and doesn't matter which plan you stick them on, it's $2,000 for their drugs, period. That changes a little bit of the game. And now I feel like if that's the case for those people, we can be a little more creative in plan design. So thinking hypothetically, if you had a client that it didn't matter which Medicare Advantage plan you stuck her in, it's always going to be $2,000 for her drugs, whether it's a standalone or an MAPD. What are some of the features that you're going to start to think about, or that you're going to look towards in a healthcare package or a plan for her?
It's always going to start with giving them as much money back as possible. So I would, the way my mind, I haven't really thought about it too much, but just off the cuff, I want to free up as much cash as possible. So the first one, I'd probably be looking at Part B givebacks to see if I can free up some money there to put back in their wallet, so that way they can afford their medications once that they hit that cap. And then I would start looking at other benefits that they would potentially have to pay out of pocket for, to maximize or minimize their spending, right? Maximize their benefit. So then I would look at the dental benefit to see what the highest return is there, what the highest benefit is. So I'd always start with positioning the conversation with freeing up as much money, or giving back as much money as possible, or freeing up their expenses, so that way they're spending less and they have more money towards, the elephant in the room, which is the medications.
Absolutely.
So especially with markets like in Florida, where right now I think I quoted somebody yesterday, $270 give back. That's a lot of money towards medications. But that might be going away too, right? We don't know what that's going to look like next year.
Exactly. Some of those givebacks are probably going to shrink next year. I don't.
Yeah, so this may be very difficult to. Yeah, but it's always going to start with, my mind is always minimize their spending, minimize their out of pocket to free up money for medications.
Yeah, makes sense completely. Awesome. When did you finally realize, man, I need a VA for myself as an agent? When did you cross that bridge? And what was the first thing you had them do?
So it started with just making phone calls. So I was spending too much time prospecting and not enough time selling. So really the first part was, how do I get myself off the phone and having to call through my leads, and training somebody to do that. So the first one was to train somebody to set the appointments for me, so I'd have more conversations and have them qualify people. That was the first thing. That was like in 2017, I believe. And then once I started writing more business, it was checking on approvals, and it was checking whether or not I got paid on a commission, and it was all that back end stuff. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing was the post-sale follow-up, because every person that I write, I want to have the 2-week, the 90-day touches, the 6-month touches, especially that first year, to keep them on the books. And if I'm busy writing business, I don't have time for all that follow-up. So that was the third thing.
Yeah, makes sense. We was similar. Like the first person that we added in for Grace's process was a prospector to help her with prospecting. And then he also did some data entry work for her, when she would do enrollments, he would do all the data entry on her enrollments for her. And then as it grew and grew and grew, I'm like, all right, now we need a customer service person on the back end.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. And you have grown to, like you said, when you opened the call, now you have 4 businesses. One of those business is a VA business, right?
Mhm.
Where you,
That's right.
I guess you contract VAs for agents that need help. I know Joe's using one of your guys, Rico. He
Mhm.
loves them. He's like, dude, Rico kills it for me.
Yep. Yeah. So and that was, again, it had to do with, and I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, but in the last 52 minutes that we've been talking, obviously I have an extensive knowledge about the business and how the business works and how to train people. Right. And so, I've always had problems in my business that I needed solving. And so all these businesses came up from necessities in my own business, which is why I still maintain my Medicare agency. And so now I have a passion for helping insurance agents with their businesses, especially if they're starting up. And I have some agencies that are doing hundreds of hours a week, and I have some agencies that are just doing 5-10 hours a week. But anything that makes you dread walking into work Monday morning, that I got to check that box, I got to eat that frog because it's just tedious, it's over, repetitive, it's over and over again, right? That's the task that we can take off your plate. And we can hire somebody for. And so that's really what I wanted to do, is get agents more excited about selling and keep them selling and having those conversations. So I really have a passion. I've always had a passion for training people. Always loved doing it.
Outside of prospecting calls or customer service calls, pre-sale or post-sale, what are some of the things that your VAs are equipped to do?
Data entry. We can manage people's social media pages. We can set people's appointments. We can do contracting work if you're a marketer and you're having downline agents. We can set up people's seminars. So if you have a seminar and you want to make sure the menu's picked out, the venue's picked out, we can do all that stuff for you, give you some options, you pick and choose. We call them back and set it all up for you. I have one agent that is giving us list of like senior community homes and nursing homes, and not nursing homes, like senior community homes, like 55 and older. And we're setting up presentations. So all she has to do is just walk in, and there's already a crowd there. So we're dealing with event coordinators. I have a lot of stuff that we're doing outside of insurance too now. So I have one guy who's coming on that we're going to be finding loan officers for them and putting them on the spreadsheet, right? So a lot of data entry. So there's really, as long as it's not selling, right? I'm not going to hire and train you a salesperson, because I would just do that for myself. But anything that's pre-sale, that's post-sale, or anything that can help manage your agency a little bit better, and really having somebody that you can send a text message and say, "Hey, I'm working on this task, and I need you to take over for me," is what we're trying to accomplish.
All right. We had one more question come in from the gallery that's right on this. What are your thoughts on using AI versus a VA?
I think AI is fantastic, but you need a human being to still manage that AI for you.
Right. Perfectly said. We have an AI chatbot sequence that works great, but I have to have a VA watch it and make sure it runs, and make sure that if anybody falls off the AI train, he gets them back on.
Yeah, and there's certain things that AI can't answer, and you have to step in manually, right? Where you can kind of take over the chat. And like you said, you just got to keep an eye on it. And if you're busy deep in a conversation, like right now, I haven't even looked at my phone for the last 50 minutes. So God knows what's going on there, right? And if I can just hand this over to somebody, this is a metaphor, but hand this over to somebody. This is my business, and I hand it to them and say, "Hey, just keep an eye on this. I'll be right back." Just to have that, I think, is very important.
Good shit. What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you, man? If they want to talk to you, pick your brain, maybe find out what if your VA service is right for them. What's the easiest way to find the Mr. Marchenko?
So you can go to t-va.com, or you can shoot me a text message. It's can I give you my phone number? Is that cool?
If that's your phone number to give out, I don't care.
So it's 803-542-5068. if you call me before texting me, I'm not picking up. So
Pretty
text me
standard now,
first.
yeah.
Yeah. So text me, and don't call me and leave me a voicemail. Just text me your question. It's very easy to do. And then if I think we need to get on a call, then we can schedule something. But I'm very big on texting. I'm very big on being transparent and being available.
Yeah,
Just like I want the VA to be right there, shoulder to shoulder, I want to be the same for agents as well.
absolutely, man. Love that. Well, dude, it's been a huge pleasure. Thank you for taking some time out of your day. Where, if you don't mind me asking, where are you? Are you in your house?
No, I'm in my office.
You are in your office, okay? Because
Mhm.
I didn't want to, you know, it looks like you might be on the road somewhere, so I thought maybe you were traveling.
No, it's funny. I had to look around to see where I was at.
Like, wow, that's a good
I'm like,
question.
hold on a second, where am I right now? No. Yesterday I worked from home. Today I'm working from the office. I'll probably be in the office because I'm hiring and training 2 people, right? So
Awesome.
there's gonna be a lot of stuff there. But yeah, I'm gonna be in the office for the next month until I'm in Philly, I guess.
Cool deal, man. Well, listen, thank you again. Thank all you guys for tuning in. This has been a great episode. Definitely go back to YouTube and watch the replay if you missed this one. And as always, we do this show every Tuesday. We do it live. That's the way we do it. Next week, we are going to have we're having a doctor on the show next week, Dr. Marie Pappas. So look forward to that one. She's actually she's a chiropractor. So we're going to be talking to her about chiropractic, but also some other things. So looking forward to that one. But man, thank you again. I appreciate you, Eugene. I can't wait to see you again. I'm definitely not getting in a car with you, though.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, use that blinker, okay?
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
Bye.